Hello boys, welcome back to another session of video tutorials, and this session is meant for class 11th biology students. And as all of you know, we are into the revision mode. We are revising all the chapters that we have completed through video tutorials, and as part of that, today we are revising chapter number 17, breathing and exchange of gases. That means after having completed plant physiology, we are entering into human physiology. And as all of you know, human physiology is very, very important, not just for the sake of CBSE board exam or any other competitive exam. It is very important because everything that we study in under human physiology, virtually, actually, it takes place inside us. Hence, it is better we need to know so that we can take some precautions and avoid many possible diseases. Hence, this human physiology is very, very important as far as our own health is concerned. So, for everything, as you might have understood, be it a plant or an animal, at the end of digestion, what is formed? Glucose. So, we say end product of digestion is always glucose. And we also said through 3 steps in our previous chapter, respiration in plants, that this glucose will undergo 3 steps. Step number 1, if you recollect from your memory, glycolysis. Step number 2, citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle. And step number 3, electron transport system or the ETC, electron transport carrying or electron transport system. So through these 3 steps, glucose will be gradually broken, and at the end of it, all of us, including plants and animals, we get either 36 or 38 ATP molecules. In our case, 36 ATP molecules. Hence, having known that just one glucose molecule gives us 36 ATP molecules, we need to understand that it is very, very important to breathe correctly. Why breathe correctly? When our breathing is correct, the amount of oxygen that goes inside our body through respiratory system and ultimately to the blood. And after having gone into the blood, inside the blood, RBC, red blood corpuscles, and inside the RBC there is a hemoglobin, blood pigment, red colored pigment, hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin combines with oxygen, becomes oxyhemoglobin. Whichever part has got oxyhemoglobin, that part will be very, very healthy, because without any hesitation, I can say that that part gets this energy. And once that energy is formed, because ultimately at each and every cell, 2 things will be formed. What are those 2 things that will be formed? One is the glucose, end product of digestion, and thanks to breathing, oxygen is there. So once glucose plus oxygen both are available inside the cell, that is cellular respiration takes place, naturally this cell becomes energized. Lot of energy will be there. Once the cell is energized, automatically tissues are energized. Tissue is energized, organs are energized. Organs are energized, organ systems are energized. And once organ systems are energized, the whole organism as a human being will be energized. And whenever we have got energy, our immune system is strong. Once our immune system is strong, there is no disease or any pathogen dare enough to attack us. Hence, the mantra to be healthy and to be energetic is breathe correctly. So, this chapter is, that's why, very, very important for all of us. So, what is breathing and what is respiration? Normally, people misunderstand both, and they think that both are same, but it is not so. Being biology boys, we know breathing is a physical one, respiration is a biochemical one. This is the basic thing that one must understand. So the breathing involves just oxygen, process of exchange of oxygen from the atmosphere with the CO2 produced by the cell is called breathing. That is the process of taking oxygen in from the atmosphere and releasing CO2 from inside to atmosphere. So this is basically breathing. And when we are doing this, we take oxygen in from atmosphere through a process called inhalation. And we release CO2 from inside our body to outside through exhalation. When this inhalation and exhalation, both these processes are taking place, physically we can observe some movements. That's why we say breathing is a physical exercise. And it occurs, as I said, in two stages: inspiration or inhalation, expiration or exhalation. During inspiration, air enters the lungs from atmosphere, and during expiration, air leaves the lungs. Now what I wanted to ask you a question. During inspiration, air enters the lungs. We are using the word air. But what we require is oxygen. Air contains lot many gases. Okay? So when so many gases are entering inside, how is that oxygen alone goes inside the lungs and from lungs to blood? This is the question that all of you need to think. What makes only oxygen to enter inside? So think of that, answer that in our WhatsApp group. And let's see the differences. Breathing and respiration. Breathing is simply intake of fresh air and removal of foul air. Whereas respiration is oxidation of food, oxidation of glucose to form carbon dioxide, water and energy. It's a physical process. As I said, the chest going up, chest coming up, coming down, and then there is a movement of the intercostal muscles, the chest muscles, and the bones present in the chest, all this. So we can observe this virtually, hence it's a physical process. But this happens inside the cell. We can't see it, we can only feel it. That's why we say it's a biochemical process. Why bio? Because of that energy we are alive. So biochemical, because of involvement of chemicals like glucose, C6H12O6 plus O2 giving rise to 36 ATP plus CO2 plus H2O. Hence, a lot of chemistry is involved. So, biochemical process. And here, no energy is released. In fact, we are spending energy. We spend energy. Here, energy is released in the form of ATP. How many? We said per glucose molecule, 36 ATPs are released. So, this is respiration is energy producing. Breathing is energy consuming. And it is an extracellular process, whereas respiration takes place inside the cell, so within the cell. Now, what are the respiratory organs that help us? So, mechanism of breathing varies in different organisms according to their body structure and habitat. So, different organisms have got different structures, respiratory organs, and they help us in breathing as well as respiration. What are those? Let's see. In lower animals like sponges, coelentrates, flatworms, it is the entire body surface. The body surface will help us, will help them rather in getting the breathing as well as respiration. What about in earthworm? Again, it is the entire surface of the skin. And in insects, look at that, tracheal system. Trachea has come. That means there is indication that organisms are evolving. And fishes, aquatic arthropods, it is gills, as all of you know, and our own amphibians and mammals, including human beings, lungs. So this shows the evolutionary trend in respiratory organs. And as such, human respiratory system, our respiratory system is a system that consists of many respiratory organs. So it consists of pair of nostrils, one tube like pharynx, another tube larynx, and then there is a branch going right side and left side, that is branchus, plural branchi, and of course further branches, bronchioles, that finally terminate into the holes, round holes present in the lungs. They are called alveoli. and the nasal chamber open into pharynx. That leads to larynx. So this is completely a tube, respiratory tube. Larynx contains voice box or sound box that help in sound production. The trachea, primary, secondary, tertiary bronchi and initial bronchioles are supported by incomplete cartilaginous rings. It is made up of cartilage. That's why they won't collapse. So basically they are all made up of cartilaginous rings so that it won't collapse or prevents collapsing in the absence of air, so that the structure will be upright. Each bronchiole terminates into irregular walled vascularized bag-like structure called alveoli. So actually these are the structures that help in exchange of gases. So I want you to take a pencil and draw this diagram, label it, and after labeling you must understand the importance or significance of each part. Okay, now we start off. Epiglottis, first one, that is what we say, it is the main mouth part of it, and larynx next, trachea, the tube-like structure, and you can see the cartilaginous rings there, so that the trachea will not collapse when air is not there. And then you got what you call pleural membrane, that is lungs. The membrane of the lungs is called pleura, so pleural membrane. Then pleural fluid within these two membranes, outer and inner membrane, inner outer pleura, there will be fluid filled with that, so that the lungs can withstand the electric shocks or mechanical shocks. That's called pleural fluid. And then alveoli, those round structures you are seeing, which actually help in exchange of gases, is many in numbers to the tune of 1 lakh. And then bronchus and bronchioles, the branches of bronchus is bronchioles. Now it is a straight trachea. As you are seeing, trachea is dividing into left and right parts. That dividing part is the bronchus. This is bronchus, this is bronchus. And then you are also seeing that the entire lung will be like a balloon. Okay, and when we take a vertical section of it, then we will see the bronchus entering inside the lungs, and then bronchioles are formed, and the bronchioles are entering into alveoli. And overall, this is supported by a very good muscle. In fact, there is a misunderstanding that people think that it's a bone. It's not a bone, it's a muscle, and that muscle is called diaphragm. And actually this muscle helps in movement of the lungs, like inhalation, exhalation. When we are doing this inhalation and exhalation, it is the diaphragm which goes inside and then comes up. So because of the movement of this muscle diaphragm, the lungs are able to expand or constrict, and when they expand, the area that is available for incoming air will be maximum. Similarly, when it is constricted because of the diaphragm movement, there will be a lot of internal pressure. Because of the internal pressure, the air that is present, the foul air rather, having carbon dioxide, will be pushed to bronchus, bronchus to trachea, trachea to larynx, and then nostrils and out finally. So that is the great role played by diaphragm. So the branching network of bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli collectively form the lungs. Two lungs are covered with a double layered pleura. You must remember this name, pleura, having pleural fluid between them to reduce the friction on lung surface. This is the purpose. And then whole respiratory system we can divide into two parts. One is the conducting part, another is the exchange part. Conducting parts include nostrils, pharynx, larynx, trachea, all tubes. Okay, they are all tubes. And the main functions include transport of atmospheric air to alveoli, removing foreign particles from air, humidifying it, and bringing it to body temperature. Then the exchange parts are alveoli, the round holes that are present in the lungs. Okay, it is the site of actual diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and atmospheric air. This is the main thing. What are the steps in respiration? Breathing, in which oxygen-rich atmospheric air is diffused in, and carbon dioxide-rich alveolar air is diffused out. Now, I am intentionally underlining the word diffused because it is the diffusion. Recollect from your memory what is diffusion? Movement of gaseous particles from higher concentration to lower concentration. Is it so? Like we have given examples, like your own body spray, when you spray the body, or when you light the agarbatti when you are performing puja. Basically, the smell starts from the very close range of agarbatti, then it spreads entire your puja room as well as entire your house. So this is diffusion process. So diffusion of gases across alveolar membrane. So first it is through respiratory tract, it comes inside, and then the oxygen enters into alveoli, and transport of gases by blood. Oxygen from alveoli enters into the blood. From blood, it enters into each and every cell. Similarly, carbon dioxide, side by side, simultaneously carbon dioxide also. From the cell, that is at the end of glycolysis or glucose being oxidized, one of the byproducts of glucose oxidation is CO2. So once the CO2 is formed inside the cell, from inside the cell it comes to blood, and from blood it comes to alveoli, from alveoli it comes to bronchioles, bronchioles to bronchus, bronchus to trachea, larynx, and then out. So oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. This is how it takes place. So basically, what is the mechanism that is involved? It is the diffusion. So we said diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and tissues. Utilization of oxygen by cells to obtain energy and release of CO2. As we said, it is the glucose that is present inside the cell through gets oxidized or combines with the oxygen that is coming through breathing, and then these two combining together will be broken. Glucose will be broken stepwise. At the end of, as I said, 3 process, we get 36 ATP molecules plus little bit of water will be formed, as you understand in Krebs cycle, and then CO2 which is formed has to be thrown out. So that's how CO2 and oxygen in and CO2 out. Okay. So for this to happen, if this happens correctly, we are at a great profit. And as I said, whichever cell is energized, whichever organism is energized, the immune system is very strong. There won't be any diseases for that person. Right? Let's see tomorrow mechanism of breathing. Take care. Breathe.